We have sold over $25 million in online courses and did it by testing every single lead generation channel, tactic, and secret strategy imaginable. And today, I'm gonna be ranking every single way to get leads and sales as a course creator, from the S-tier moneymakers to the F-tier time wasters. If you're starting with no money, no following, and no marketing skills, you need completely different strategies than someone who has all three of those things. So I'll be sharing both the ones that work best for beginners, but also the ones that got us to $300,000 months and beyond. If you've got a great course, great products, coaching program, community, or other digital products, but have no idea how to get customers, or you're struggling to, this is the exact roadmap I have used to get to $300,000 months. Alrighty, I'm gonna be ranking these lead gen channels on a scale of S through F. S is for superior, it is the best of the best, and then you've got F, which is those who fail. These are the channels I recommend staying away from. There are a total of just 12 lead gen channels I have tried out over the last 10 years and what we have used to sell over $25 million of online products. There are a handful of these I have not used myself, but our students who we have taught and we've mentored over the years have tried them, found immense success with them, and so they made this list. For every single one of these lead gen channels, I'm going to be grading them and ranking them off of 3 criteria and categories. The first is predictability. This answers the question, how consistent is the lead flow and the cost to get those leads and sales? Second is the barrier to start. In other words, how hard is it for a beginner to get started with this lead gen channel? And then third is the time to traction. This answers the question, how fast can I get results and make money? Those are the only 3 lenses or categories I will be viewing these lead gen channels through to give them a correct ranking of S through F. And then within each of those separate 3 categories, I'll be giving them an individual F through S score. For predictability, for example, an F is going to be unreliable, volatile, and untrackable. An S score would be it is reliable, it's super stable, and it's scalable, or at least a lot more scalable than the F scale. Barrier to start, or how hard it is for a beginner to get going, an F would be it's super complex, it is very skill heavy or tech heavy, and of course expensive. It costs money, which is something beginners often don't have. Versus the S tier would be something that is very simple, very low skill or low tech involved, and it's cheap or free. And then of course time to traction is how fast does this take to get results and make money. On the F side of things, it's very slow. Normally speaking, the barometer and the measurement stick is in months to years. Think of it like running a marathon. Versus the S end is very fast. We get results in days to weeks. Feels much more like a sprint. Alrighty, now that we've got the grading scales and the rules all laid out on the table, let's jump in to the 12 lead gen channels, starting with one of my favorites and one of the most popular, and that is organic short form content. First, what is this? Organic short form content is exactly what the name entails. It is short form video content posted primarily on the main 4: Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok, in that order. Now, of course, there's plenty of other platforms out there you can post short form content to: LinkedIn, Twitter, or X, I guess, Snapchat, Pinterest. But generally speaking, these are under 90-second pieces of video content. These are posted natively on those social media platforms, and it's primarily education focused in nature. The goal here is to get leads, is to build trust horizontally, and then you then turn those views and eyeballs into DMs, into comments, into booked calls, people clicking on the links in your bios, and ideally turns into sales. Now, I've gained hundreds of thousands of followers on different social media platforms specifically for short form, and I've gained tens of millions of views on those. So let's talk about the score that short form content gets. First, starting with predictability, I give this a score of C. Here's why. Consistency is what creates the predictability. Short form content isn't just automatically getting posted for you. You are the human making the content. You have to post the content. And so if you're inconsistent, you're not very disciplined, or you get discouraged really fast, you're not going to get the predictability that short form content can and does bring for those who are consistent and diligent and disciplined. The second reason this kind of gets a small score is because you're at the mercy of the all-being algorithm. The reach and eyeballs you get one day could be 10x, and then the very next day could be 0.1x. That can change week to week, even day to day. And even the best short-form content creators on planet Earth do not have full predictability. Some posts just flop. It doesn't matter how good you are at writing hooks and crafting the storytelling and really engaging crazy edits. Even if you do everything right, the algorithm is the algorithm. It's a moving target, which again is why volume kind of negates that element of luck. If you post enough, you can create that predictability and consistency, which is why I'm actually going to jump over to time to traction. I give it a score of F. Because consistency is the name of the game of short form content, it often takes 6 to 12 months of posting consistently before any compounding effects start and you start getting lots of follows, DMs, leads, and eventually sales. And this sucks for a long time because you are literally posting to nobody for months. It can be a lonely, extremely discouraging grind, sitting there playing your music to a crowd full of nobody, maybe your grandma, and this is why so many people quit. It is hard. It's extremely discouraging. I posted content for 6 to 8 months to absolutely nobody, averaging 1,000 to 2,000 views on every video, posting 2 to 3 times a week until I finally had one video take off. I got 3.1 million views and I gained like 30 to 40,000 followers from that one video. And the last score is the barrier to start. I give this a B. It gets high marks because anybody can take out their phone, you can flip on the camera and just start talking. You're gonna suck at the beginning no matter what. And so if you try to perfect it, be an amazing copywriter and make flashy edits, you're just wasting your time. So truly anybody can get started today by just making content, speaking what's on your mind, sharing some value with the world and starting. That probably gets it a score of A or maybe even S. What brings it down though is the fact that it does eventually require some learning. You have to learn how to copyright, how to make good hooks. You have to iterate and find what pieces of content are doing well and for what reasons. There's a lot of trial and error that's involved in that, and for that reason, the barrier can be a little bit higher. Wrapping that all up, our very first lead gen channel gives a total score of C. It's great once it's established. It takes quite a long time to get there. It's a very slow ramp up. You're kind of at the mercy of the algorithm. It makes it hard for beginners. For people like myself, it's extremely valuable. For some people, it's their entire lead generation mechanism. So it can be awesome, but again, it takes a minute to get started. It's a C. Next, we've got the big brother of short form content, and that is organic long form content. Organic long form content mainly comes in the form of YouTube videos. That is the king, the master of all long form contents. Down from that, you've got things like live streams on platforms like Twitch. Think of short form content as going horizontal. It has a lot of breadth to it. Long form content is going vertical. It has depth to the content you're creating. If you look at people like streamers, they have arguably the most die-hard fan bases. Why? Because they've gone so deep into the relationships with their audience. Some of them go live for 10 to 12 hours a day. The more time you spend with people, the more units of time, just like dating, the better you're going to get to know that person, the more you're going to love them, trust them, and all those things create sales. It creates money. For myself and you guys in the content creation game, selling courses, coaching programs, memberships, any other digital product online, YouTube is the king here. These are deep dive tutorials, trainings, reviews, anywhere from 5 minutes to 3 hours, 6 hours, however long you want to make it. The content is long, it is long form. Let's start with predictability. Long form content gets a score of A. Here's why. Unlike short form content, YouTube content specifically compounds. YouTube is a search engine, right? So when people search up content for how to blank, you can post a video. 10 years later, it's consistently going to continue to get search volume. Like for example, this video. This is a video we posted at Time Filmmaker called The 6 Biggest Mistakes Beginner Filmmakers Make. This got 1.5 million views 4 years ago. At its peak for the first 2.5, 3 years of posting this video, it was bringing in $10,000 a month consistently in sales. Even today, 4 years later, it still brings in sales. Or this video here for my business, Course Creator 360, this was posted 5 months ago. Every single day, this is bringing in new viewers watching this 30-minute long video, building more deep trust with me. And so far, it's generated tens of thousands of dollars in monthly recurring revenue for my product. But what's cool about YouTube is once you've posted enough content, it starts to act like a library of content. Again, short form content's kind of like one and done. Once you post it and after the first 2 or 3 weeks, however many views you got kind of stays there forever. YouTube is not the same way. Second is the barrier to start. I give this a score of A. Similar to short form content, anybody can pick up a camera, make a rough outline, some bullet points of what you want to talk about, you flip it on and you click record. And yes, that means you can film on your dinky little iPhone. You don't have to have this super polished video like you're seeing here with crazy flashy edits and pretty B-roll and animations. One of my OG Course Creator 360 members, his name is Nick Fulmer. He has sold over $2 million of his online course. And I just want to show you real quickly his YouTube videos. You're going to love this. This is Nick here. Nick sells a course on overage syndicate. I honestly don't even know what that is. I think it has to do with taxes. He's posted 653 videos. And if you watch any of his content here, let's just watch the first 10 seconds here.
How is the surplus funds business and tax overage recovery business different today than it was 10 years ago?
Again, you can judge him, you can critique him all you want. Money talks. He's made $2 million posting consistently at a terrible quality. He's gotten less than 500 views on this video here, but with the low view count, look at how much engagement he gets here. 38 comments of people just gushing about him. Thank you, I love more information. A whole bunch of people commenting here, asking for more info and his lead magnets. And that's from one video. You don't think if he posts a video like that 600 times, you're probably gonna make a lot of money? And sure enough, he does. There is inherently no barrier to entry to start making YouTube content. But, however, YouTube does not come without its downsides. You've got the time to traction, which I give a big fat score of F. Again, just like short form content, you are posting to nobody for months. This sucks. It's discouraging. You need to post 10 to 20 times minimum just to get started. That's like the entrance fee. And if you're posting 1 or 2 times a week, that takes at least 2 months, somewhere closer to probably 3 to 4 months. And again, most people quit at around month 2. On top of that, it does take some time to learn the ins and outs of how to make thumbnails, titles, make good video topics in the first place, the formats of what videos work well. Just like short form, that's a learning curve. You got to iterate. You have to learn from your content what's going well, what isn't. And it's for that reason I give YouTube content an overall score of B. It is better than short form content, I think by a long ways. Moving on to the third channel, we have paid ads. Paid ads are taking this short form or even long form content we talked about in number 1 and 2, and you're now paying platforms to show and force those creatives to targeted audiences. You can then drive those people to lead magnets, to your offer, or any other call to action of your choice. My favorite platforms to run ads on, after having spent over $3 million across many platforms, are Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Google, in that order. Of course, there's other options: TikTok ads, LinkedIn ads, Snapchat ads, Pinterest ads, there's many more, and paid ads are perhaps the single biggest lever I have pulled to be able to get to multi-6 figures per month. It's not impossible to get to multi-6 figures without ads, but it is perhaps the fastest and most predictable way to get there. And that is why predictability, I give paid ads a score of S. I do not think there is any lead gen channel on this list that has more predictability and reliability and scalability than paid ads. Paid ads are how you achieve that coveted, I wake up to 15 sales or 15 booked calls on my calendar lifestyle. All those gurus online, they tout about that and they show their screens and say, I just made $30,000 overnight. They almost always do that from paid ads. Of course, you can get some of that predictability from things like short form content and some other channels we'll talk about here in a minute, but paid ads are literally a dial. You can turn it up and down whenever you want. You have a very stable cost to acquire a customer. Once your funnels work, once you have an offer that is proven and you've made good creative, I can consistently put $1 in and I'm going to get X dollars out, and I can count on that with a great degree of confidence. Remember how I just told you, short form content is extremely unpredictable and unreliable. This video right here got 4,300 views. On paper, this is a flop. Didn't go viral. Did not get me a bunch of followers. Didn't earn me a bunch of clout. But you know what I did get? Leads and sales. This video got 274 comments on it, and from those comments, it turned into dozens of signups for my free trial on my software. The moment I saw those numbers and found that I was able to get a ginormous amount of leads and sales from a very low view count video, you better believe I took that piece of content and forced Facebook and Instagram to now show it on people's feeds. With organic short form, again, I'm just kind of waiting for the algorithm to bless me. It's like, oh, please show to as many people as it can. It may not. I can't control that. That kind of sucks. But I took this exact video. I put $100 a day behind this on both Facebook and Instagram. And in a 2-month time period, 60 days, this generated for us 440 new free trials. Our average revenue per user, by the way, is $150. That comes out to $66,000 in potential monthly recurring revenue, all from a short form piece of content that flopped on paper. That is why this is superior in terms of predictability. I can target anybody I want. The attribution is amazing. I can track every single sale that comes through. This is how we hit $300,000 months here at Course Grade Through 60. It's how we hit $400,000 months at Time Filmmaker at our peak. However, the barrier to start on this gets a score of F. There is a lot of technical setup. We're talking pixels, events, tracking, UTMs. It's not for the faint of heart. And on top of that, it does require some creative skills. You have to write some good copy. You have to have some funnel expertise. If you've never spoken to a camera, you probably shouldn't go ahead and risk a whole bunch of money if you don't even know if you're very good at the content game. So the skill set of content creation is a prerequisite, in my opinion, to run ads, unless of course you want to fork up a ton of money and pay an agency to do it all for you. But that also comes with some extra risks, which I won't talk about here. And obviously, probably the main reason it gets an F is because it costs money. Most of you starting out don't have a lot of money, and you're looking for more beginner-friendly ways, free things to get started, and that's why paid ads are just not very friendly to beginning up-and-coming course creators and online entrepreneurs. The last category though, time to traction, I give this an A, almost an S. This again can work almost overnight if you have the capital. If you've got money to invest, you can flip it on and you can start getting booked calls, getting sales, free trials, signups, leads, literally within 24 hours of running that ad. Put it all together, I give paid ads a score of an A. Again, this would be an S if not for the complexity at startup and the fact that it costs money. If you get rid of those two variables, it is in fact an S. For me personally, for my business, it is by far an S, but because I'm making this video for the masses and people like you, who many of you are beginners, it is probably in the A category. Moving on, we've got communities and forums. What this is joining existing groups, places online where your ICP or ideal customer profile, your avatar, is hanging out. And so it's going in these groups, these communities, these forums, and you're posting value, you're answering questions. And then from that relationship, you're moving people into a direct message conversation and ideally trying to push them to book a call and talk to them face to face. The main places that I go personally for this are Facebook groups, Discord channels, Slack, school communities, Reddit, LinkedIn groups, and Telegram. Now within communities, groups, and forums, there's kind of two main categories. There are free and there are paid. With free groups and free communities, you're gonna get a whole bunch of volume, a lot of people, at a very low quality and low intent. So I can find plenty of groups with 100,000 people, for example, but the downside to that is you're gonna find a lot of tire kickers, people who aren't very serious. The quality of that group can vary widely. And then you've got paid stuff, right? This is where you are actually going and buying either competitor stuff or people in similar industries as you. By paying for those groups and being in them, you're getting a far higher quality of customer, but again, at a lower quantity. Almost every single online course or digital product we've launched, we have started using this lead generation channel. Perfect example. I sell a software called Course Creator 360. It's an all-in-one platform that replaces entirely softwares like Kajabi, ClickFunnels, Systeme.io, School.com, Teachable, Thinkific, and many, many more. So what did I do when I very first launched this offer? I went into Kajabi's Facebook group and I started listening and looking at everybody complaining and whining about all the things they hate about Kajabi, all the problems they're running into with making funnels and emails and lead magnets and all the marketing, everything that my ICP is complaining about. I did the same exact thing inside of ClickFunnels and groups like Systeme.io. You add value publicly and then you sell them privately. This strategy works on any social media platform or group hosting platform that has the ability to DM. If you can send them a direct message, it can work. So from a predictability standpoint, I give this a score of a C. The reason, again, is it requires you as the human to be consistent. It's manual in nature. So that predictability and consistency is only as effective and predictable as your consistency is. Also, a minor issue is that group moderation can change, right? Posts can get deleted. You might get kicked from those groups. Some admins have super strict rules on what you can and can't post. People are kind of on their radars looking for people who are selling stuff. So you have to go about it in a very tactful and strategic way without any outward appearance that you've got something to sell. The barrier to start, though, I give a score of an S. Anybody can ask questions. Anybody can answer them. It is the Wild West frontier. You can do whatever you want in those groups. It's a little bit of a higher barrier if you pay for those groups, which I recommend doing occasionally, but it's still cheap. There's no tech required, no following or audience needed at all. You can get going today. Then lastly is the time to traction. I give this a score of A. The speed from reach outs to sale can be extremely fast because people have really pain-based comments, replies, and posts. So when they're in the very thick of needing some help and solutions, that's when you step in as the hero, say, hey, I saw your issue, I've got the solution, let's hop on. It's a very easy, very natural way to get conversations started. And putting everything together, I give communities and groups and forums a score of A. This, in my opinion, is really good when you're very first getting started out. It's not really much of a long-term strategy. It can be one if you want to build a team of people who just go and join groups and forums and do these reach outs for you. It is scalable, but I use it mostly as a short-term way to validate demand. I want to get early revenue, get some money in the door. It's not really much of a long-term play, but great for the short term. Okay, next we've got cold outbound. Now I hear the word cold outbound a lot. I didn't know what it meant for a long time. Let me be very specific on what cold outbound is as a lead generation channel and platform. So what this is, right? Cold is you are initiating contact with targeted prospects. These can be accounts, they could also be individuals, but you're doing this with personalized and customized pitches. Okay, so these can come in the form of text messages, direct messages on social media, Loom audits, which is my favorite, LinkedIn messages, or of course, just straight up phone calls. Now, of course, the question many of you will ask at this point is, well, that's great, I can reach out, but who do I reach out to? Where do I get the text messages? Where do I get the phone numbers? Where do I get these emails from? There's actually some platforms. I have not tried these out myself. I have heard a lot of people in my space use this and they found success with it. There's platforms like this one here called Instantly, where it allows you to blast out emails to lists of people that you don't actually own yourself. Again, I can't vouch for this personally. I have not tried this method. I don't love the idea of emailing people that don't actually know me. I never got their permission to email them. I don't know enough about it to criticize it though. I just know that many people find a ton of success with this, and same with phone numbers. I personally instead like to focus more on things like DMs, right? Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and I combine that with doing Loom audits. Loom audits, for the record, are the #1 way that I personally like to get pitched. I have purchased $15,000 per month programs that started entirely from a DM I got on my Instagram channel with a link to a 5-minute Loom video. These Loom videos are audits that people can do, and they're customized to me. They take a lot of time. They're very manual in nature, but that's what makes them so powerful, is I can watch a video and someone says, "Hey Stockton, I just looked at your Instagram channel here. You've got 76,000 followers. I went through your website. I found 5 different problems here. I noticed you weren't running retargeting ads. I then went through your opt-in funnels. I got 15 emails. Here's what I do to improve them all. I actually wrote for you 15 more emails and a brand new website if you want to look at that. I made for you a brand new ad. Check it out here. If you want to talk next steps on how we can get you to this next level and get this desire that you have and overcome this pain point that you have, let's talk. Book a call here." I love, and I mean love, that method of pitching. Again, it takes a ton of efforts. You have to add a lot of value up front, but if you're desperate enough, cold outreach is one of the most effective and the most reliable ways to generate traffic. And it's for that reason, on the predictability scale, I give it an A. There is virtually no limit to how many people you can reach out to every single day. Again, it's a lot of effort, a lot of time, but that is the only limits, is how much time you want to spend on it. I can reliably predict that I'm going to get X amount of people who click on my link and watch my Loom video or my offer, and then X amount of people who book a call with me, and then from that, I'll sell X amount of people. The barrier to start on this, I give a B. You do need some level of copywriting skills to grab people's attention in the first place, whether it's writing subject lines or crafting the first 5 seconds of the Loom video. The Loom audits in and of themselves take a lot of focused prep. You have to have a pretty good outline. They are simple to do, but it does require some skill. And then if you do want to use platforms like Instantly or any of these third-party softwares that reach out to people for you, that is some tech involved that you have to learn how to manage those platforms, how to use them. And so it's probably in that C to B range for a barrier to start. And then lastly, the time to traction is an S. Similar to paid ads here, you can get calls booked. You can get people in the door in less than 24 to 72 hours from the time that you send the stuff out. Again, you don't need any following online. You just have to have your mouth, some credibility, and some pretty well-written contents, and you can start filling your calendar. I give this an overall score of S tier. Moving on here to the 6th lead gen channel, we've got Freelance Marketplaces. What this is platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, Contra. These are platforms where people are literally raising their hands and saying, "I have a problem. Who can help me? Here's a job post. Here's the application. Here's the requirements. Here's how much I'm willing to pay you. Can you please apply for this job and solve my problems?" Like, it doesn't get any more straightforward than that. If I want to apply to those job applications and get some work, I can buy what are called credits. And with those credits, I can come in here to find some work. I look up the pain point that I solve, and I've got literally hundreds, sometimes thousands of people begging for some help here, giving me the exact amount of money they're willing to spend. I can see how much money they spent on this platform up to this point. It's like a self-qualifying system. I don't have to pay for anything other than the credits it costs to get started on Upwork. And it's for that reason, for predictability, I give it a score of A. The reason Upwork, Fiverr, Contra, these platforms are always going to have a constant flow of people who have burning needs. They're going to always be posting jobs. It's virtually never ending. These people have extremely high buyer intents. They post the job application. They're asking and begging you to apply. Very high predictability. The barrier to start, I give this an S. This took me maybe 20 minutes to set up a profile. I bought some credits for $10 to $30, very cheap. And in 10 to 30 minutes, I can start applying to jobs today. And lastly, the time to traction here, I also give an S. Again, you get same day replies with hot leads. These are hot people. This is not the same as cold outreach, right? These are people who are coming to you with very hot intents, very strong pain points. You can turn that pain directly into a booked call and then pitch them whatever it is that you sell. However, there is one kind of big caveat here with platforms like Upwork, is the niche does matter. For example, job applications for video edits, for example, if I made a course on video edits or I had a service for video edits, I have myself an absolute freaking heyday in here. I mean, look at this, 23 seconds ago, 1 minute ago, 3 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago. I mean, we're getting hundreds of posts per hour of people looking for video edits in here. If I sold a monthly video editing service on the back end here, you don't think I could reach out to, 10 of these people, start a conversation, apply for that position and say, "Hey, are you looking for a one-off edits or monthly edits? If the latter, I'd love to hop on a call, edit your first video for free, and let's rock and roll." This niche right here would do really well on Upwork. However, what if I'm a piano teacher? If I come in here and post piano lessons, not nearly as much content going on here. But even then, right, look at this guy 4 weeks ago, again, kind of a long time ago, but he's looking to speak with someone about an online course. He's looking for online courses in the piano space. So not nearly as much volume, a little bit harder to succeed with in the piano niche. So it is niche specific. It's not going to work for everybody, but I give these freelance marketplace lead gen channels a score of S. This is one of the most overlooked and underrated lead generation channels out there. It's not perfect for everybody, but it can be an absolute rocket where demand exists. All right, moving on. We've got one of the most attractive and yet one of the most horrendous lead generation methods, and that is course marketplaces. Now, what is a course marketplace? These are platforms like Udemy, Skillshare, Gumroad, WAP, and School.com's now getting into the game as well, where essentially the promise is this. We have tens of thousands of courses or communities or programs out there and hundreds of thousands of customers. If you make it, they will come. And if you press this magical button and you put your course on our marketplace, we'll just start pouring leads into your laps and you'll get a whole bunch of sales. Udemy and Skillshare were the first ones to do this a long time ago. We're talking way before 2016. Now you've got platforms like WAP or School.com that are trying to make it seem like it's this big brand new idea. Here's the issue. On a predictability standpoint, I give this a C. Here's why. The top 1 to 5% ranking courses or other products are steady. They can be predictable, but even those top ones can be sporadic. Everybody else though, right? The 90 to 95% of other courses on the bottom get almost nothing, zero. It's the same exact problem as short form organic content. You've got an algorithm, but instead of it being Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, it's now the platform controlling it. The courses that get all the best reviews and sell the most people are the ones that rise to the top, and they get the lion's share of all the sales and leads. Which brings me to my next point, barrier to start. I also give this a C. The reason being, you have to build a full-blown course. It has to be a really well-made product, which leads perfectly into the third complaint I have, which is the time to traction. I give it a D. Not even accounting for the time it takes to just build the course and do that part well. Then the ranking process, right? To work up the ranks all the way from zero, getting a whole bunch of positive reviews, getting exceptional word of mouth, and competing against the top dogs up here is extremely difficult and takes a long time. And for that reason, overall, I give this a D. I guess it could be a place that you use as a secondary channel once you've got it up and running. But even then, I have coached well over 5,000 course creators. I can count on one hand how many people have made over $10,000 on these platforms versus the hundreds, almost thousands of course creators that I've coached who've made multiple 5, 6, 7, and some of them 8 figures doing it all alone and not waiting for one of these course marketplaces to just poop out a whole bunch of leads magically for you. Moving on though, to the 8th lead gen channel, we've got search and SEO. This one's pretty self-explanatory. You're trying to rank on search engines. We're talking Google, YouTube. Those are the two main ones. But now we've got AI tools like ChatGPT coming out where again, SEO is becoming a bigger thing. But what true search engine optimization is creating pages and videos all optimized to rank for intent keywords. And then you're trying to harvest a whole bunch of search demands by creating a whole bunch of backlinks and hoping that eventually your pages rank to the top of these search engines. Real quick, I will say this is the one I've put the least amount of effort into. SEO for me personally has been one of those things where I just feel like comes naturally as you make a bunch of contents, as you're getting a lot of traffic to your pages, you are going to start ranking up without doing anything crazy intentional. There is, however, an intentional side where you're trying to manufacture those high ranks. I, again, have not tried or attempted to do that. We've always just had good SEO by nature of the other lead gen channels that I focused on. So for predictability, I give it an A, but there is a bit of a caveat here, right? Once you rank, then it's predictable. Otherwise, again, it's unreliable. It's still an algorithm, right? It's ranking you. And so for that reason, it's maybe closer to a B. But once you get there, if you do even get to that high ranking area, traffic can be extremely stable and can compound. The barrier to start on this though, I give it a C. There is this art and craft to what's called backlinking, where you're creating a whole bunch of content, a whole bunch of pages. Google, Yahoo, Bing, all these search engines like to see that these pages connect one to another. You get more and more people landing on those pages. Google sees that as a good thing, more people spending time on their platform, and therefore it's going to rank you higher. That is not just some random skill you can pick up out of nowhere. It does take some skill. You got to do some keyword research. You have to create all those internal links and backlinks. There's some technical basics that you have to understand. And of course, this does require a lot of volume and patience. And then finally, I give the time to traction a D. Again, one of those slow burning lead gen channels. You have to wait 3 to 12 months of doing this very consistently and at high volumes before you're going to see any meaningful needle start to move. Bringing those all together, I give search and SEO an overall score of C. Strategically, it's more of a long-term game. My experience and what we have done personally is kind of paired this with other more important lead gen channels that rank more in the S and A tiers. And then the search and SEO just kind of come with it. It's just a cherry on top. If it comes, great. If it doesn't, I have never relied on it. I never will rely on it personally. But again, maybe that's just my bias. I've never really gone deep into this one category. The next way to generate leads and sales is partnerships and collaborations. Some of you may or may have not heard of the term JV launches, right? JV stands for joint venture. And essentially what partnerships, JV launches, and collaborations are is you are leveraging another creator's audience through joint content. Almost always these come in the form of doing launches or some sort of revenue sharing agreement. The most obvious examples are things like JV webinars. Again, you go to some creator, hey, I've got a bunch of expertise and knowledge. Your audience seems to have a lot in common with mine. I'd love to give some value to yours. Can I go live to your audience? In exchange, I'll give you a cut of whatever I sell through them. This can be things like email list swaps. If I find someone in my space, Tony Robbins, right? Or somebody 100 times smaller than Tony Robbins who maybe has 10,000 people on their email list, swapping is one of the fastest ways to gain trust because again, that creator has a whole bunch of trust, a whole bunch of affinity that they've been accruing with that group of people. They may not know, like, or trust you, but they do their favorite creator. Another way is doing co-courses. This is something that I've done personally. This right here is a course called the Video Ad Formula. This was made by a guy named Kevin Anson. He's made hundreds of ads for some of the world's biggest brands like Russell Brunson, Kajabi, Mike Tyson, and many more. I went to him and said, hey man, I love this Video Ad Formula course. I'd love to put it inside of my course. And in exchange, I'd love to put a link to your stuff, whether you want to book a call or sell your high ticket program or maybe some sort of back-end offer. A huge win for me. I get some amazing course content that beefs up my offer, and a win for him because he gets some leads and sales on the back end. I did the same thing with Funnels University. Again, a creator named Gustin Sun. He's got a course called Funnels University, teaching how he's made funnels for, again, ginormous brands like these people here. And this time he actually wanted some of my course content. He was one of our OG course creator members. So I gave him some of our Facebook ad contents and he gave me his entire Funnels University course. There are hundreds of ways to creatively make these partnerships work, but essentially what it is they promote your offer or free resource to their audience. You then deliver the contents or the sales events, and then you share the revenue or pay some sort of fixed bounty. Or if you're creative, do something like I did where you're just kind of trading, getting courses for courses or some other valuable information. When it comes to predictability, I give partnerships a score of B. The results that you get from partnerships are still tied to partner fit and also the execution of that partnership. You still have to be consistent with the right people. And even once you do find the right people, it's like putting together the plans when we go in live. Somebody has to kind of be the marketing machine to push that stuff forward so it's actually generating leads and sales. The barrier to start, I would give a B, mostly because doing the outreach and that relationship building is a skill. Some of you just aren't going to be very good at it, or maybe you just don't want to do that. It's exhausting for you. You're just not a people's person. You're not very extroverted, but you also have to bring some very clear value to the table, whether it's in a content form, it's an offer or rev share. You have to be thinking about it from their perspective, not so much your perspective. And for a lot of beginners, they don't have that mentality. Oftentimes it's just like me. What can I get? And you always have to think about it from the flip side. The time to traction, I'd give this a B as well. Once you launch the thing and you plan something out that's nice, a single JV launch can produce sales in 7 to 14 days. And so overall, I give partnerships a score of B. Starting out, you may not have much credibility or value to offer to the world, and so it might be harder to land those partnerships. Moving on to number 10, we've got affiliate programs. An affiliate program is where you as the creator have a product, a service, something that you are selling, and you've got your customers. And who better to promote your stuff than the people who've already bought it and had a good experience with it? So you create these things called affiliate links. There's a little tiny parameter that goes on the end of their URL. It's special to them, and they can go and share that with their friends, their family, their colleagues, their email lists, going back to partnerships, whoever they so please, and they're going to make a kickback, a percentage of that sale, because you're essentially paying them to be the lead acquisition. Instead of paying Facebook ads or YouTube ads or your content team to go out and create some content, you're now paying an army of customers a percentage of every single sale they bring you. This is a structured revenue share model that pays other people to drive leads and sales using trackable links. I sell a software, and so my software is a monthly subscription. I personally, at the time of recording this video, pay 30% commissions for life to anybody who promotes my software. That is on the extremely aggressive end. If you're selling a course or a membership or some sort of coaching program, oftentimes, especially when it's just a one-off purchase, you're going to choose a percentage to give that affiliate. This can be anywhere from 5 to 30%, but from a predictability standpoint, affiliates and affiliate campaigns get a score of B. If you push really hard on these things, they can be very stable. That predictability component mostly comes though with enough customer volume. So if you get no customers coming in and nobody's experiencing the good stuff from your products, there is no one to then promote it and share it. I've also found that affiliate traffic can be very sporadic in nature for reasons that I just sometimes don't know. Like this month I could get 100 sales from affiliates, and the very next month it could drop all the way down to 20. And I have no idea why, but you look into the details and you find that, oh, somebody posted a YouTube video and that video went viral randomly. And so that explains the huge spike. And so there's some kind of weird stuff like that that happen with affiliate campaigns. It's not some linear model that's always going to be the same. If we're talking just about sheer scalability though, affiliates is where you can start to get exponential growth, right? So if, for example, every one person you get to buy your thing goes out and shares it with 1.1 people, that is enough enough to have a viral coefficient where you're going to have exponential growth. However, from a barrier to start standpoint, I'd give it a score of B. The reason being, there is some light tech setup involved. You have to make some links, you have to create some terms, some rules for your affiliates, you got to look at the dashboards, you have to recruit and market this thing well, right? You can't just make a program and all of a sudden everyone wants to join in. You have to build some promotional kits that you give to your affiliates. And then of course, you have to manage the payouts that you pay to all your customers, which can be a pain in the butt as well. And then finally, when it comes to time to traction, I give it a score of C. Similar to course marketplaces, this does require a very strong product. Again, if you don't have a strong product that's getting people results, no one's going to feel the need to want to share it with their friends and people they actually care about. Once you have that, momentum can start to grow. You get some more success stories and more affiliates start to roll in. Overall, I give affiliates a score of B. It can be an absolute powerhouse of a multiplier once you have wins and assets and affiliates, but just like anything, it does take maintenance. Moving on, we have now one of my absolute favorite lead gen channels, and that is your owned audience. Up to this point, I've talked a lot about some different channels that you are borrowing, right? YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, other course marketplaces. You got freelance marketplaces like Fiverr and Upwork. You've got partnerships, other people's stuff. These are all things that you are borrowing. You don't own any of this. And most of that you don't have very much direct control over. An owned audience is a customer list that you control and you can contact whenever you so please. The two most obvious forms of contact information are emails and phone numbers. Essentially what you're doing is you're creating a whole bunch of value for your audience and for your marketplace by creating lead magnets, free pieces of value that you give in exchange for contact information. And folks, let me tell you, having a list is your permission to print money. I mean that. At Time Filmmaker, our first online course, we had over 1 million emails on our list. You want to talk about predictability? We are able to email that list of 1 million people. I know it's a big chunk of people, right? But whether it's 1 million or 1,000 or 100, these are people I can talk to whenever I want in an email. And so every year on Black Friday, 4th of July, heck, St. Patrick's Day, whenever you want to wake up and just make money, we put together a 5-part email sequence and we are able to make hundreds of thousands of dollars every time we do that. Our best Black Friday month ever, we did $700,000 in a 30-day time period just by blasting out emails. It's for that reason that predictability gets the easiest S I've ever given. This is so predictable. I have full control. I can send as many emails as I want to whoever I want. Obviously, you got to be careful here and make sure that you're segmenting your email list, which I help you how to do just that inside a course Creator 360. Email marketing is one of our biggest claims to fame here at CEC 360. We help your emails to land in the primary inbox, avoid the spam, and use the best segmentation practices to make sure you can make money when you actually send those emails. And it also happens to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, ROIs that you can get per click long term. Emails cost almost nothing. They are so cheap and so extremely effective. The barrier to start on having an owned list is a C. Again, like I mentioned, you first have to create a bunch of contents, some lead magnets. You have to have a way to capture those emails. Yes, I guess you can go and buy lists on the internet. I highly discourage this. It is not the same as actually gaining trust with people and giving them value. If you go and buy a list of 200,000 people, no one knows who you are. They don't have a relationship with you, and you're just throwing darts in the dark. Which leads me to time to traction. This one gets a score of D. Again, this takes months, years to build that list until it's something worth talking about. Some of you might be brilliant marketers and it's very easy and comes naturally for you to build a big list. Or maybe you're running a bunch of ads. Obviously with ad spend comes a much faster list growing process, but meaningful monetization doesn't really come until you've hit that 1 to 5,000 subscriber area. I am personally generating anywhere from 300 to 500 new leads every single week for my paid ads. But even just 4 days ago on YouTube, I posted this video right here. This video got 1,300 views. And like a good boy, being a good marketer that I am, I have a lead magnet that people can download from that YouTube video. I made this lead magnet inside a course Creator 360. You do in fact get every single template for funnels, emails, automations, and more that we have used to sell over $25 million in online courses. But check this out. From those 1,300 views, okay, we're talking about views, not clicks, views on that YouTube video, I got 281 opt-ins. This page is converting at an 81% opt-in rates. For context, the average opt-in rate on a funnel or squeeze page like this is around 20 to 25%. I have more than tripled that, but the craziest stat to me is again, 281 opt-ins, over 1,300 views. That's a 21% view to opt-in ratio. Again, view to opt-in ratio. The average view to opt-in ratio for YouTubers is somewhere in the 1 to 5% range. So again, when you have a reputation for giving out really valuable level stuff. I don't care about getting tens of millions of views on my content. Virality is not my goal. I'll take 500 views on a YouTube video if it gets 21% view to opt-in ratio any day of the week. I would take that 10 times over a video that gets 100,000 views, but almost no opt-ins. Because again, I own that traffic. If I can get these people off of my YouTube channel, off of my Instagram channel, off of TikTok or wherever they're at, off of other partners lists and put them onto mine, I now own them. And if I do a good job of following up with those leads, continuing to build that value, build more trust, I expand how many touch points I have with those customers over a long enough time horizon, they will in fact buy. It's for that reason I give your owned audience an overall score of B. Me personally, it's an S tier. I'm trying to keep in mind that most of you don't just wake up one morning with a whole bunch of people on your email list. You don't have the luxury to just spend a whole bunch of money on ads or just start cranking out lead magnets. This is probably my most valuable assets, but because the barrier to start and the time to traction, I do in fact give it a B. And with that, we've got our 12th and final lead generation channel, and that is referrals and word of mouth. This is just good old happy customers organically talking about you. They love what they're getting, they got some results, and they are just sharing it with their colleagues, people who are in similar spaces with similar pain points, similar desires. Hey, this thing worked for me. Here's the issue though with word of mouth. First off, predictability gets a score of D. It's powerful, but extremely hard to forecast and manufacture. You can't just wake up and decide, I'm gonna get word of mouth. I declare word of mouth, please. It is not something you can pay for. It's not something you can demand. You can't really control this thing. It is solely dependent on customers' outcomes. If they have exceptional outcomes, really good experiences, eventually you're gonna start seeing that word of mouth coming in. Next, from a barrier to start standpoint, I give it an A. Mostly just because you have to do great work. And if you do that good work, it really comes down to asking other people to share it, right? Ask them for referrals. But there is no real barrier to start getting people to talk about you other than the fact that you have to make a great product. And then finally, we've got the time to traction, which I give a score of D. Again, from like a barrier standpoint of skills, can beginners do it? Absolutely. But from a time standpoint, this does take time to compound. It's a flywheel. The more results you get, the more people talk about you, but it requires enough students and customers to reach that tipping point to where this is really something I want to go talk about. When people go out and talk about you, they are risking their reputation. That is not something humans take lightly. If I'm gonna go share something with my family, my friends, if that thing sucks, well, now I suck, and that doesn't make me look or feel very good. Overall, I give word of mouth a score of C. It's a borderline D. Again, it's amazing when it hits, but it's not controllable enough as a primary acquisition plan. It's just kind of something that comes as a cherry on top. If you do a great job, that's pretty much how the marketing gods award you. And folks, with that, those are the 12 lead gen channels that we have used over the last 10 years to sell $25 million in online courses. We have been teaching these for 10 years to over 5,000 course creators. If you want to learn how to build, market, and sell your own online course, learn 10, 20, 30 times the amount of information you just learned in this video here, you can join a 30-day free trial of the Course Creator 360. We give you all of the course contents, the 24/7 supports, the coaching calls with myself every other Friday, the templates for funnels, emails, automations, all the back-end stuff we have accrued over the last decade of doing this, we give to you so you can skip the line, reduce your learning curve by 1/10, and not have to go through months or even years of trial and error like I did to sell my online course and other digital products. That's it for this video. Hope you got a bunch of value. If you did, like, subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next one.